In 1957, the Soviet Union put the first satellite in space. In 1991, it couldn't pay its civil servants. The same system, the same country, 34 years. A peasant society that had lost 20 million people in the Second World War built a nuclear weapon in 4 years, then a hydrogen bomb. Then it put a man in space. In 1957, when Sputnik crossed the sky and Americans tracked it on their radios, the Soviet Union was not pretending to be a superpower. It was one. It was also a machine that worked, as long as you only asked it to do one thing. But there was a category of goods the Soviet system produced very badly. Refrigerators that broke, shoes that didn't fit, cars with 10-year waiting lists. These failures were not accidents. They were the logical outcome of a system built to produce rockets and never rebuilt to produce anything else. The Soviet Union was winning the competition it had chosen to enter. The problem was the competition it had chosen to ignore. In 1973, OPEC's oil embargo sent global prices through the ceiling. For most countries, this was a crisis. For the Soviet Union, the world's largest oil producer, it was a lifeline. Suddenly, the oil it had always produced was worth 4 times what it had been the year before. The petrodollars made reform unnecessary. Empty shelves could be filled with imported goods. Agricultural shortfalls covered with purchased grain. The system's failures remained exactly as broken as before. They just stopped being visible. And a system whose failures are invisible has no reason to change. In 1985, the global oil price collapsed. Saudi Arabia flooded the market. 2/3 of the value gone in months. And what was revealed underneath was a system that had not reformed itself in a decade because it hadn't needed to. Now it needed to. It didn't know how. They had not built an economy. They had built a pipeline and mistaken it for a foundation. By the mid-1980s, the Soviet Union was spending an estimated 25% of its entire economic output on the military. The United States was spending 6% of a much larger economy. The Soviet system could only demonstrate its legitimacy through military parity. So every new American weapons system required a Soviet response, whether the money existed or not. Money it was already running short of, on weapons that were never used, against an enemy that never attacked. The arms race was not lost on a battlefield. There was no decisive engagement, no moment where Soviet technology was shown to be inferior. It was lost in a series of budget meetings where Soviet planners tried to find money that no longer existed for weapons systems they could no longer afford. The Soviet Union was not destroyed from outside. It was bankrupted from within by the cost of pretending to be something it could no longer afford to be. Mikhail Gorbachev came to power in 1985 believing the system was fundamentally sound. Damaged, but not broken. He opened the press. He allowed criticism. He permitted people to say what they had been forbidden to say for 70 years. He was not trying to end the Soviet Union. He was trying to save it. What he underestimated was this. The system's stability depended on people not knowing things. Once Soviet citizens began to access information through a press that was suddenly partially free, the legitimacy of the system dissolved faster than anyone had predicted. The Soviet Union did not fall because it was invaded. It fell because enough people looked at what it actually was and found something other than what they had been told. The oil had funded the promise. The arms race had consumed it. When both were gone, all that remained was the claim. A system optimized for one goal loses the capacity to adapt to any other. The Soviet Union was built to win a military competition, and it did for decades. What it could not do was become something different when that competition changed. Systems that cannot be wrong do not learn. Systems that do not learn do not survive. It ended not with a battle, but with a budget. The Soviet system lasted as long as it did because the people inside it were not allowed to see it clearly. The question is not whether that could happen to a different kind of system. The question is what it looks like from the inside, when the information you are receiving is the information you are permitted to receive.